Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I am going to be positing that extensive negative reviews are cruel and wasteful. Okay, all right, let's talk about it. All right, so I've just been thinking a lot about different things, and I have been thinking about the nature of America. Okay, and also this is specifically for I'm just talking specifically about American reviewers here, because I believe we live in a pretty unique situation. So American society is so exuberant. Like we live in a culture and an economy of abundance, where right now there are 400 new television shows coming out every single year. We get 200 new movies, and there's an immense amount of video games that are, very similar to blockbuster movies, okay? In addition to that, we have this situation where there are thousands of new books that come out every single year, and there's so much art that's being created because we've arrived as a culture at the point where, on the hierarchy of needs, nobody's really worrying about, shelter and food. And if they are, there are a lot of places in America where they can go and be given shelter and food. And, we've reached a point where there certainly are still homeless people in America, but generally there's no one who is beyond the level of no help. That just doesn't happen in our country anymore. And, for the vast majority of our populace, you see a situation where there's so much abundance that we've reached a point where there are a lot of people with a lot of time to devote to art. And so in America, there's a torrent of art that is starting to just spray out not just content, but great content. There is so much great content that routinely good content has to be ignored, right? Just completely ignored, right? And I think we've reached a point where there's so much great content, no one person can even take in all of the great content in even one of those fields, right? It's incredible. There's so much good stuff coming out, right? So with that said, one of the things that's become very aware of me, I've become very aware of, is with all this amazing amount of art, there's a ton of review, right? And there's really an incredibly robust economy and community that is now growing up around reviews, right? And so increasingly, I am getting a ton of enjoyment out of listening to reviews of movies that I've seen and listening to reviews of movies I have not seen, right? And so one of the things I realized is that, right now there are quite a few people on the internet who really are taking a lot of time and energy to give extensive negative reviews. And I realized, in my opinion, that I think at this point, I believe extensive negative reviews are cruel and wasteful. And the reason why is, back in the old days, there just wasn't a lot of content out there. So if you were doing a negative review, it's because you went to the movies and that was all there was to see, and you just talked about it because there was no other movie to talk about. That's just not the case anymore. When you are doing an extensive negative review today, you are taking the time and energy to create something that is negative, and then you're taking resources and bandwidth to put that up. Now, I want to be clear. Absolutely everyone in America has the right to make negative reviews. I'm not questioning that right at all. I'm saying we shouldn't. It's not an issue of can, it's an issue of should, okay? So we can make extensive negative reviews. No one is questioning the right to do that. I'm saying we should not. We should choose to be better people, to find a better path. And I'm committing myself to this too. So basically, if you're doing an extensive negative review, you are choosing to say, I'm going to ignore all the amazing good content out there, all the amazing great content out there that I can talk about, that I can point people to, and I'm just going to pour out my agitation and my frustration on this piece of art. And I'm going to tear down this piece of art, and I'm going to tear down its creator, right? And I think there might have been the slightest justification for this 20, 30 years ago, but there's just no justification for it anymore, right? It's just a bad idea, okay? Now, I know there are some reviewers who are asked, hey, I want your opinion on XYZ, right? So what should a negative review look like today, okay? Well, in my opinion, the best thing you could do if for something that you really dislike is just not talk about it. That is incredibly effective in today's economy. The very best reviewer in the world, she's a movie reviewer, but I think she's just an incredible reviewer, is Grace Randolph. She is an absolute consummate professional. She reviews movies at a level that I think she's light years ahead of her competition, right? And so I watch movies, and every now and then a movie will come along and she won't even bother to review it, right? And that speaks volumes to me, because she covers the industry in detail. And if she's saying this thing is beneath my notice, right? That's incredibly effective. Like, if your idea is that you want to point people away from a product, that's the most effective thing to do, is just talk about the things that are good, and that thing will disappear. Because in today's society, where we have a new economy, there's really a new currency that's bubbling up, and that is attention, buzz, eyes on, all eyes on me. Like, if nobody's talking about your product, it will die a swift death in today's economy, okay? And I think that, that's just a better way to handle a negative review. Now, I'll go further. I know there are people who are like, hey, my people want to hear me talk about XYZ. So, okay, if you have to give a negative review, in my opinion, this is how it should be done. So this year, I did a tear down on the creators and the art of Mummy 2017. I now regret that, okay, because I realize, I look back on that, and to tell the truth, I have agitations and frustrations, and I poured it out on that movie, and those, it's like a 3-part, review, and it's it's extensively negative, right? And the reality is, in today's society, there's 3 more reviews talking about the Mummy there, and 3 more, and there's, those videos are up there, and that content is actually pointing people, in my opinion, not away from the movie. It's probably pointing people to the movie, right? Because in today's society, especially with search engines and all this kind of stuff, the more people are talking about something, I'm not sure it really even matters if it's negative or positive. It's gonna rise the attention and rise the buzz. It's gonna give all eyes on me on that thing, and it just doesn't make sense, in my opinion, to do these extensive negative reviews. Okay, so I saw the Mummy. Let's say, and I felt very passionately that I wanted to give a negative review to that movie. I now think it was wasteful for me. It was cruel and wasteful for me to go and take this movie that these people worked very, very hard on, okay, and just tear it apart, right? And tear down the creators. And I think what the review should have been is the following. Hi, I'm Scott Garibay. This is my review for The Mummy 2017. I saw The Mummy 2017. Thank you. Camera off, end of review, period, right? And that, I think, going forward should be a signal that, and that signal should say to everyone out there, and I think, if people start doing this, if other reviewers start doing this, it will get the message across, right? And that message is, my mama told me, if you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all, right? And I think, we really need to start doing this. And the reason why is, I think there's just a way better path. There's a ton of great art out there, and there's a lot of art that needs time and attention. And rather than doing, and I'm not kidding. I think there's like a 10-minute, a 20-minute, and another 20-minute. I did like a 50-minute takedown on Mummy 2017. That's like 2 or 3 videos for me, where I could have covered something useful and something helpful, you know what I mean? But instead, I poured out my agitation and my frustration on something. And so I really want to call everybody out there, and I'm calling myself to this as well. If you and you know what, before I even do that, let's talk about the elephant in the room. One of the reasons why, not just creating, but watching them, okay? It's super fun, on a day where you're frustrated or you're agitated, to watch a really, good vocabulary, snarky takedown of a piece of art. But we are blessed. We have an incredible, society now that is creating dozens and dozens of pieces of amazing art. And it is belittling for us to do this. It's belittling for everyone involved. All of us are smaller when we make these reviews, and all of us are smaller when we watch these reviews, right? It's a cycle of cruelty, and it's a cycle of waste. And I think we, as reviewers, if we don't like something, there's a powerful, powerful way we can address that thing. And that is, don't talk about it, or give, this simple negative cut review, which is, I saw XYZ. End of review, right? That should say to everybody, hey, this was not my jam, right? And the reality is, again, we live in this culture where there's so many good things to talk about, so many great things to talk about, that if you are choosing to continue to make extensive negative reviews, and you are choosing to watch extensive negative reviews, you're making everybody involved in that process less than they can be. And, and I highly regret my negative reviews from the past. And going forward, I realized that there's pieces of art that I've passed on and that I have not talked about because, I took the time to do these extensive negative reviews. And so now I will say, if there's a piece of art and you really like some of it and there's parts of it you don't like, that's a nuanced review. I get that. That's okay. But I think just going forward, we've reached a point where there's, plenty enough in the world to look at that is beautiful and awesome and good, that we really need to stop spending our time and energy talking about the things or listening to the things about that are bad. And so I just really want to call out there, everybody out there, before you start your next, takedown on XYZ movie, really think, is there a better use of my time, right? And before you go to watch another negative review, is there a better use of my time? And I think the answer is almost always going to be yes. So just in summary, my opinion, in 2017, in the world we live in America today, extensive negative reviews from this point and going forward are cruel and wasteful. And I'm going to be very hyper vigilant to stop doing them. Right now, I don't think I did a ton of them before, but I certainly did a few. And I really think it's time to end this cycle. Thank you.